Good morning, everyone. I am Eric Hughes, the Literacy Coordinator for the Tampa Hillsborough County Public Library. We are just about to get started with our program today, our annual assembly that we are so happy to bring to you. And we're so excited to acknowledge some people who have worked so hard this year. Before we get started, before we bring on our MC, Rod Carter, I would just like to take this moment to make you aware of the controls for the GoToWebinar. Now, no one will be able to come on screen with us, but if you have a question at any time during the webinar, you can post that in the questions on the control panel. So don't be afraid. If you would like to make a comment or a question, you can do that right in the questions box on your control panel, and we will keep an eye out for that. Also, you'll notice in the handouts, there is one handout in there that you can download onto your computer, and that handout is our Visions 2021. That is our annual publication that features student writing. This year, it's a little bit different. We did a community poem project, so it features writing from all kinds of members of our community. So take a look at that. It's very cool. And we will be featuring some readings from Visions 2021 in our program today. So again, please, if you have any questions or comments, we would love for you to post those right in the questions field. And also, we would love it if you downloaded Visions 2021 from the handouts and take a look at that. It will be posted on our website next week as well. So if you miss it today, we will have it posted in our archives. Okay, friends, now without further ado, I'm going to disappear and I'm going to invite our guest speaker, Rod Carter, screen and start us off today.
Hey, good morning, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Rod Carter. Such a pleasure to be here once again with you all, and welcome to the Hillsborough Literacy Council's 2021 Annual Student and Teacher Appreciation Event. This is always a wonderful event for our community, and so I'm excited to be here with you. And I'm excited to let you know that we have a great speaker for you today, and that we appreciate and respect all of the hard work that you all have done over the past year, since last September. Today, you're going to experience some great moments that make this event so very special for us every year. First, you're going to hear from our esteemed speakers. Of course, that includes our keynote speaker, Dr. Maria Carlo. You're going to hear some readings from this year's Visions publication. And furthermore, we are proud to be able to recognize our students and our tutors of the year, and this year's recipient of the Sylvia Miller Award. So feel free to go ahead and put your messages, any questions you may have with us for us during the event by using the questions function that was just mentioned on your control panel. And now I'd like to hand the mic over to our very first speaker of the day, and that is the president of the Hillsborough Literacy Council, Brandy Meredith. Good morning, Brandy.
Good morning, and welcome everyone to the Hillsborough Literacy Council's annual Student Tutor Appreciation Assembly. My name is Brandy Meredith, and I'm the president of the board of directors. And on behalf of the board, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Our board loves this time of year because we get to celebrate the hard work and dedication of our tutors and students. This year's board includes Jennifer Schneider, Drew Pfeiffer, William Hunter, Kel Brocknick, Carla Guzman Mims, Paul Stepanich, and Joanna Cheshire. And while we love to gather and celebrate in person, this year a virtual gathering seems especially appropriate because over the past year, Hillsborough Literacy Council has worked hard to begin delivering our services virtually. The Hillsborough Literacy Council, affectionately known as HLC, provides free, confidential literacy help to adult learners in Hillsborough County. HLC administers two programs, Basic Literacy and English for Speakers of Other Languages, or ESL. The Basic Literacy program provides one-on-one tutoring for adults who wish to learn to read and write up to the 5th grade level. Our ESL program offers small group tutoring for adults who would like to learn to speak English. Conversation Corners are our informal ESL drop-in program for students to practice speaking English. Now, thanks to the efforts of library staff, volunteers, and board members, we've been able to provide these services to the public for over 30 years. It is our incredible staff, Eric Hughes and Melissa Nye, that help make our programs possible, connecting volunteers with tutors and providing new training for new volunteers and doing so many other things behind the scenes. Thank you both for the tremendous work that you do. Now, we've recently learned that Melissa has accepted a new position as a librarian, and we will miss her greatly, but we are so glad to hear that she's still going to be at one of our Tampa libraries where we can all drop in and say hello. And so really, Melissa, a special thank you for what you've done for us over the past few years, and we will miss you so much. I also want to thank the director of the Hillsborough County Public Library Cooperative, Andrew Bradenbaugh, and our Masters of Ceremonies, Rod Carter, for joining us today. Many of you know Mr. Carter from his time here in Tampa as an anchor at WFLA, and now, even though he's moved to North Carolina, he's still made time to come out and celebrate with all of you. And we are truly appreciating both of your time. Finally, I would like to give a special thank you to our guest speaker, Dr. Maria Carlo. Her work on bilingualism and literacy development is especially relevant to what we do here at HLC, so please enjoy her presentation. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we appreciate all that you do for HLC. Enjoy the annual assembly.
Brandy, thank you so much. Really appreciate the kind words. And next, we're going to hear from and like to welcome back our library director, Andrew Bradenbaugh, to deliver a message. Andrew.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Andrew Bradenbaugh, Director of the Tampa Hillsborough County Public Library. I'm happy to join you again this year for the Hillsborough Literacy Council's annual Tutor Student Appreciation Event. It's good to see the return of tutoring services after experiencing a complete shutdown last year. It's also good to see that when times call for change, we can rise to the occasion. The Hillsborough Literacy Council is operating primarily online now, and I'm sure that that will continue going forward, in addition to the return of in-person tutoring in our library branches. I think the changes brought about by the past year show us that with a positive approach, we can benefit from adversity. After all, it is our response to adversity that makes us who we are. I'm not speaking only about the COVID pandemic, but about our desire to be part of a community speaking, reading, and writing English. This doesn't come easy, but when we arrive at our goal, despite adversity and because of our hard work, we feel all the more proud. It's very fitting then that this year's theme, Where I Am From, is also beautifully captured by our community poetry project. Many of you took the opportunity to reflect on your roots and the things that have shaped your lives and expressed it so beautifully in your poetry. And on reflection, I'm sure that you couldn't help but consider how those early influences brought you here today. After all, it's not just where we're from that matters, but where we're going. So I'd like to thank all of the tutors for their generous donation of time and effort, and I want to wish everyone a continued success with their literacy efforts. Thank you so much for all that you're doing, and have a great morning.
Andrew, thank you very much. Andrew's background is my favorite library in Hillsborough County, the Robert Saunders Library. If you haven't been by there, you should definitely go check it out. It's a fantastic facility. So next, we'd like to welcome and hear our first Visions 2021 reading today, entitled, as Andrew mentioned, Where I Am From. And this reading will be by Mary Palmentary Kaufman. Let's welcome her.
Where I'm From, by Mary Palmentary Kaufman. I am from 187th Street and Camberling Avenue, Little Italy in the Bronx, eating ice chips off of a truck delivering ice to the bakery across the street. I am from Catholic school with a plaid uniform that was always tight around the middle. I am from homemade ravioli made by Grandma, who taught me to use a fork to close the pasta around the ricotta cheese. I am from stoop ball and a pink Spalding and Scully and melting crayons into bottle caps to play the game. I am from Sunday Mass and using a tissue to put on my head when I forgot to wear a headscarf. I am from riding a bike that wasn't mine, rolling down a big hill with my hands above my head and feeling airborne. I am from dancing in the kitchen with music and family and lots of noise. I am from walking to the movies with a boy who held my hand. I am from doing football tackles in slow motion with my brother. I am from watching my parents dance together at weddings and see my father put his hand on the small of my mother's back. I am from English class when I saw that it was okay to be smart. I am from getting kicked out of history class when I saw that I also had to crack wise to survive high school. I am from college where I realized that I wanted to show people that they were smart. I am from a teaching career where I realized that I could show people that they were smart with the gifts that they had. I am from retirement, where I realized that volunteering and spending time with students who are learning how to survive puts me on that bike that wasn't mine, rolling down a big hill with my hands above my head, airborne. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The visions readings are among my favorite parts of this program. Also, among my favorite parts are the keynote speakers, and I'm so excited to welcome our keynote speaker today, Dr. Maria Carlo. Dr. Carlo is an associate professor in the Department of Child and Family Studies at the University of South Florida. She specializes in bilingualism and literacy development in children and adults. Dr. Carlo's research focuses on the cognitive processes underlying reading in a second language and in understanding the cross-language transfer of reading skills and how it affects the development of such skills. She is also interested in generating educational interventions that support first and second language development, particularly around vocabulary. She is a member of the American Educational Research Association and the International Reading Association as well. So everyone, please virtually welcome Dr. Carlo.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I'm hoping everyone can hear me. Thank you so much, Mr. Carter, for that introduction. And so, as was stated, my name is Maria Carlo, and I work for the University of South Florida in Tampa in the Department of Child and Family Studies. And at USF, I am part of the Right Path Research and Innovation Center. The mission of this center is to employ cutting-edge research methods to develop, evaluate, and disseminate tools and strategies and programs that elevate achievement of vulnerable children. And so I spend most of my time involved with research on child development with a focus on the development of children who are growing up using two languages in their daily lives. But today, I'm not in Tampa. I am speaking to you from Puerto Rico, where I am from, and where I arrived for what was supposed to be a brief family visit on March 11th of 2020. A few days later, everything closed down, and I figured that if I was going to endure a long and prolonged lockdown, I would be better off here with family than alone in my apartment in Tampa, so I stayed. So in the context of that, I want to thank the Hillsborough Literacy Council for inviting me to be part of this 2021 annual student and tutor appreciation event. It is truly a great honor for me to be here, and it has been especially meaningful for me to be able to reflect on the message I wanted to share with all of you in the context of my hometown and in the proximity of my family. In school in Puerto Rico, I was taught that our island was the smallest of the greater Antilles in the Caribbean, as you can see in the left-hand quadrant, that we fit into the Dominican Republic 5 times, and that we could fit 4 times into Jamaica, and that we fit into the United States 1,080 times. I grew up always being very aware that we were very, very small. My family is from the southwest coast of Puerto Rico. I have a strong connection to this coastal area that you see pictured here. It's called Joyuda, and it's in the town of Cabo Rojo. The small island that you see towards the front of the image is called Isla de los Ratones, Island of the Mice, and I'm not sure why it's called that. But it is said that my great-grandfather, Justo Dominguez, contrabanded rum from Isla de Ratones. My dad used to tell me that we were descendants of pirates, and he was dead serious about this. In Joyuda, Puerto Rico, we eat a lot of this fish, chapín, or smooth trunk fish. And I grew up eating these, empanadillas de chapín. This is Boquerón Bay. And this is Playa Rosada, pink beach. Here the water is so saturated in salt that it turns pink, hence the name. I grew up surrounded by a lot of natural beauty and a lot of pride in that natural beauty, despite our small size. But in addition to the connection to the ocean and to the region, I grew up with a strong connection to one Puerto Rican institution. The University of Puerto Rico is that institution. I spent my childhood on this campus. My brother and I went to summer camp there. We did our homework there. And frankly, I really thought I owned the place. I roamed around freely. I had several family members that were on the faculty of the University of Puerto Rico. And I used to think this is pretty odd for people who supposedly come from pirates. This is a picture of my mom, Professor Milagros Vargas, teaching a humanities class at the University of Puerto Rico. And to the right is my dad, Dr. Victor Carlo. He trained medical students in surgery. This is my aunt, Alicia Carlo de Net, a professor in the physics and math department. A female physics professor was very unusual in the mid-60s, and I would say it's probably very unusual today as well. And so I wonder, how is it that people with pirate ancestors and from a very, very tiny island end up as college professors? No one in their family had been to college. My aunt and my dad did not come from wealth. My mom's family was better off, but there were 14 children to support, so I doubt that there was much to go around. So how did this happen? And the answer is found in a much maligned term these days, a government program. All of the members of my family who became university faculty were given an opportunity that changed their lives and the lives of their children and grandchildren. They were part of a program funded by the government of Puerto Rico that identified high-performing undergraduate students who expressed interest in pursuing graduate education and paid their way at the graduate school of their choice. In exchange, upon finishing their degrees, they would return to Puerto Rico to teach at one of the local university campuses. The university needed to increase its Puerto Rican faculty, and the way they did it was this: by creating opportunity and access for Puerto Rican university students. I highly doubt that this career path would have been available to them otherwise. And so what was an opportunity for my parents became an expectation for me. I grew up thinking it was the national progression of things, that I would go to college and then to graduate school. So when I arrived on the campus of the University of Massachusetts at Amherst to pursue this long-awaited graduate degree, you would have thought that I would have fit in perfectly, but that was not the case. I felt like an imposter. You see, in my mind, I was really from a family of pirates who contrabanded rum and from this tiny, tiny place in the Caribbean. I felt most like an imposter on the first day of this class taught by my professors Keith Rayner, Arnie Well, and Sandy Polachek. The course was called ABCD, which stood for Applied and Basic Cognitive Development. If you didn't do well in this class, you got kicked out of the program, and it was referred to as a weed out course. On the first day of this class, Professor Keith Rayner said something like this. In this course, you will learn about the explanations cognitive scientists have come up with about everything your grandmother already knows about human cognition. And I thought, I'm in trouble, of course. I was pretty sure that my grandmother, who had not gone to college, knew nothing about the brain and human cognition. I thought about the old picture of my grandmother, Josefa Dominguez. She was probably in heaven looking down on me with the same suspicious look that she has in this picture. And I thought about my great-grandmother, Carmen Rita Cuevas, who was 103 at the time. And I thought, and still thought, that the coin of Puerto Rico was the Spanish real instead of the US dollar. So I somehow passed that class, but that comment about my grandmother's wisdom would come up again later in my training. Soon after that class, I started work on my master's thesis. This is my doctoral advisor, Dr. James M. Royer, who supervised my master's thesis in 1991. The day after I had the oral defense of this thesis, I traveled back home to Puerto Rico. And of course, my mom asked me what my thesis was about. And I told her I was studying how the two language systems of bilinguals interacted interacted with each other, and how the languages supported each other. And that if you build up children's language skills in the first language, you can bolster development of the second language. And perhaps sensing that I was a bit too impressed with myself, she turned around and said, I imagine you could hear her. Your grandmother could have told you that. And she proceeded to tell me the story of how her mother, Consuelo Martinez de Vargas, upon learning that I was having a lot of difficulty learning to read in English, got on an airplane for the very first time in her life and traveled to Philadelphia. It was probably a really long flight in those days from San Juan, Puerto Rico to Philadelphia. She came armed with a cartilla fonética, a phonics primer, and she told my mom, you need to teach her to read in Spanish first. And the story as they told it was that all of my reading difficulties were solved right there and then by my grandmother, who had not gone to college, but had a lot of common sense. I have dedicated my entire professional career to figuring out how the two languages of bilinguals interact and support each other, coming up with explanations for my grandmother always knew. And so I want to use this narrative of my life to illustrate what many others have said before me, that education is contagious and that we pass it on. We might think of education as a meme, not this kind of meme. Rather, we should think of it in the sense used by British evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins, who defined a meme as a unit of cultural information spread by imitation, a cultural parallel to the biological genes. Memes carry information, are replicated, and transmitted from one person to another, and they have the ability to evolve. This is my son, Diego Aldarondo. He too benefited from an opportunity given to his grandparents and that they passed on to him. In fact, his paternal grandfather, Etione Aldarondo, also participated in the very same training opportunity given to my parents and to my aunt, and he too became a professor, and he too had children who were inclined towards academic pursuits. We often refer to Diego as Mr. Teflon, Mr. Cool Cucumber. Nothing ever rattles him. He is usually relaxed, like in this picture with his saxophone. And here on the right he is in front of the neuroscience building at Harvard, where he's completing a PhD. He studies rat brains. He's not teaching them to play the saxophone, though this picture was too cute. Rather, he is part of a team that is studying how rats control movements, and they are working on theoretical models that will hopefully lead into insights about treatments for Parkinson's disease and other brain disorders affecting movement. I had a recent conversation with Diego that made me realize that he had not only acquired the education meme, but had also acquired the teaching meme. Last term, he was a teaching assistant for an introductory course in neuroscience for Harvard undergraduates. His section had been assigned this article to read from the journal Nature. It contained a sentence that read, "Behavioral genetics is the new frontier in the study of the brain," or something to that effect. It just stated that without elaboration, a throwaway sentence in what appears to me as a very dense article. And one of his students, a young woman in her second year, came to office hours, pointed to that very sentence and asked, "Why is that?" As he was describing the interaction to me, Mr. Teflon's eyes welled up and his breathing became more effortful. And he said, "It's such a good question, such a simple question. But if you don't understand that, this article has nothing to offer you. She's so insightful." And I said to him, "You're emotional." And he nodded in agreement. And right there, I recognized that emotion. And I imagine every teacher in this audience recognizes it too. It's that moment when you see learning unfolding right before you and it moves you. And it's that feeling that you try to recollect every time teaching gets hard. So I want to end by saluting the teachers in the audience. May you continue to experience the joys that teaching can bring as you continue to be the duplicators of the education meme. And I want to salute the students whose accomplishments we celebrate today. You have done a great thing for yourselves, and you need to be very proud. And what you have accomplished does not end today, and I would argue does not even end with you. What you have accomplished today will be passed on to all of those you love. And so for that, I say congratulations to all of you. Enhorabuena. Thank you.
Dr. Carlo, thank you so much for those wonderful words. I learned so much listening to your story. My grandmother could have told me that. That is so absolutely true. So much of the wisdom we get comes from our parents and our grandparents, and I hold on to all those things I learned from them. So thank you so much for the great words. We appreciate it. So every year during the assembly, the HLC releases its Journal of Student Writing. It's called Visions. I know you guys have had a chance to see it. It's there if you want to download it right there in the chat section on your screen. Inside, you're going to find the writings of HLC learners, unedited, just as they were written. And it's always such a great experience to read those. So we're happy to present to you now a poem from Vision. So let's welcome Melissa Nye, who is going to read a poem by Flor Guzman.
Thank you so much, Rod. Flor Guzman was one of the first people to respond to our call for poems. At the time, she did not have a tutor, and now, thanks to our wonderful volunteers, she is very happy and learning English. So let me read the poem for you. I hope you enjoy. I am from We Sang. I am from We Sang. Bim bom, blue doll, and rice with milk, arroz con leche. I like Festival of the School. I am from the Inns of December. And lull the baby Jesus in the church, and they give candy for children's. I am from where you feel the support of the family and people when you need. By Flor Guzman. Thank you.
Melissa, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Wonderful writings in there. Again, you should download that and take a look at it. It's fantastic. So we're so happy to announce now the winners of the Students and Tutors of the Year Award. And to do that, let's welcome HLC Vice President Jennifer Schneider to camera. Hey, Jennifer.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
All right. Thank you, Rod. Every year, we like to recognize students and tutors of the year chosen from among the nominations that we receive. And the chosen recipients of the Student of the Year will receive picture dictionaries, and the Tutors of the Year receive $50 gift cards to the Bonefish Grill. And now it is my honor to announce this year's Students and Tutors of the Year. The first award is the ESL Student of the Year. The ESL Student of the Year is Susanna Perez, nominated by Susan Cintron. And here's how Susan nominated Susanna. Susanna began working with her tutor, Susan Cintron, over 2 years ago. She learned basic reading skills and some writing skills during her education in Cuba, but lacked conversational English. She works for a moderately large multilingual company in which all of the managerial staff is largely speaking English, and the rest of the employees are Spanish speaking. So Susanna brings to the learning process this determination and adventurous spirit. She practiced her English conversation fearlessly. She never missed a class and was a lively participant. After about 2 years of hard work at her job and improving her English, she was asked to apply for a managerial position. She filled out the application, formulated a resume, and interviewed for the job in English, and she got it. Susanna brings many wonderful qualities to learning, but perhaps the most notable is her dogged determination. At Christmas, Susanna decided she would use her vacation time to drive north until she found snow. Unfortunately, it was very warm that winter, and after driving north for 4 days, she ran out of time and had to turn back. But characteristically, she didn't give up. She had her first experience with snow a few months later on a mountain in Georgia. So congratulations, Susanna. The next award is the English Language Tutor of the Year, and that is Frances Fernandez, nominated by Yesenia Geraldo. Frances's learner, Yesenia Geraldo, said, "I think she is a professional person with commitment and with a love to teach us. I thank you very much for this opportunity." Frances's students benefit from her joy and personal attention. She shows an interest in learning from the students, not just in teaching them, and has succeeded in making a little community with a sense of belonging, linking individuals together who can benefit from each other's gifts and life experience. Making that happen takes a real and concerted effort of dozens of small actions, and doing so online requires real creativity and willingness. By taking into account personalities and needs when selecting learning activities, knowing when there's a birthday to celebrate and singing the happy birthday song, having a nice conversation after reading from the Marshall leveled readers, and encouraging learners to take chances, Frances has helped her students bloom. So congratulations. And our last award is the Sylvia Miller Award. The 2021 Literacy Tutor of the Year is Sylvia Essie Mills, nominated by Luna Tamimi. And I would like to share Luna's nomination. Words can't explain how amazing my tutor, Miss Essie, is. There are so many beautiful things about her. I'm truly grateful to have her in my life. She inspires me to be better every day. Not only is she teaching me how to read and write, but she's also teaching me how to work the computer and navigate life. Every time we meet up, the time goes by super fast, and I don't want it to end. It's beautiful to know that she does this out of the kindness of her heart, which says a lot, being that she could be home relaxing, watching Netflix, but she's here changing lives. The reason why she's an outstanding tutor and deserves to be recognized is because starting from the beginning, she's always on time, she has a big smile on her face, she's always happy and in a cheerful mood, and she always asks me how I'm doing and will give me tips or advice on how to make it better. She's great at explaining and breaking down the tasks, the lessons, and she's good at giving examples when I don't understand. She's very patient and she doesn't rush through session. She makes me feel like I am capable of doing anything and I'm not less than. She keeps me on my toes. She gives me homework and makes sure I have completed it. And if I don't understand, she will not move on to the next lesson until I understand. She asks me what my goals are and keeps me accountable. I don't know how, but she always has them memorized. And last, she makes me feel like I am a human and not just a number. Miss Essie has really helped me change the way I think and has helped me be more confident. I wish in a couple of years to be seated on the other side of this changing lives. I aspire to be just like her, happy, positive, motivated, inspirational, patient, classy, and of course, outstanding. Congratulations, Miss Essie.
Jennifer, thank you so much, and congratulations to all of those winners, Francis Fernandez, Sylvia Mills, and Susanna Perez. Now, it may sound like we're about to repeat ourselves here, but we're not. Sylvia Mills was the Literacy Tutor of the Year, and the next award is called the Sylvia Miller Award for the Outstanding Tutor. And so I want to tell you a little bit about that award. It's given to a special tutor who has contributed countless hours over the years. Sylvia Miller was a volunteer tutor who always gave so much of herself, more than what was expected, in fact. She was a champion for the adult learner, logging more than 1,500 volunteer hours in a 5-year period. That is a lot of volunteer time. Now, in addition to being a literacy tutor, she served as an area representative coordinator, and a board member. Although Sylvia Miller passed away in October of 2009, her legacy clearly lives on. So we'd like to welcome now HLC board member Carol Bachanek to present the Sylvia Miller Tutor Award.
Thank you, Rod. We are pleased to present the Sylvia Miller Award to a tutor who is so familiar with the Literacy Council and, in fact, the library system that many of the staff know him by name, and his name is Jim Alcorn. Jim began tutoring with the Literacy Council in 2017, working primarily with one student. And by working with, I should say that Jim has helped his learner to achieve his goals and triumphs. In fact, Jim's student has been honored by the Literacy Council on multiple occasions. Now it is fitting that Jim too receives recognition. But it's not just Jim's care and dedication to working with his student that entreats us to consider him for the Sylvia Miller Award. It is also his involvement and dedication shown to the institutions of the Hillsborough Literacy Council and the Tampa Hillsborough County Public Library. To illustrate, I will tell you a story. The literacy coordinator had been hearing talk of a person who attends seemingly every library program, a super attendee, one guy who you could count on to show up, and not only show up, but to provide good feedback. And when they said his name was Jim Alcorn, the library coordinator immediately knew who they were talking about, because just like with library programming, Jim had been perhaps the only tutor to show up for every meet and greet, every fundraiser, and every other event. Jim, simply put, is a staple to the organization and a proven champion for his learners. We are pleased to honor Jim today by giving him this year's Sylvia Miller Award, and it is our sincere hope to continue working with him.
Carol, thank you so much, and congratulations once again, Jim.
Jim, go ahead and come on if you're able to.
I am able to.
Excellent.
Let me see if I can do this. There we go. That was honestly much more than I ever expected to hear. My phone is blowing up a little bit, and I probably am too. So first, greetings to all of the students who are assembled with us today, and to all of my fellow tutors. These things don't happen just because of one person. So I'd like to take a moment or two to throw a few shout outs out there to people who have helped along the way. The first two of those people were tutor mentors when I began. Lark Underwood was one of them, and I couldn't figure out how to manage teaching the ED endings to words and problems with certain words that had an R in them. And she provided some teaching material and sort of opened my eyes to where I could get other forms of teaching material. The student that I work with now manages ED endings quite well. The other was Diane Gray. And I spoke to Diane Gray at every in-person annual assembly that I've attended. She's a very patient person, and she had some excellent ideas for improving student success. And as a result of that advice, reading books, actual books that were appropriate for the student's grade level, if you will, were added to the class. It's made a big difference, and the student has now read more than 35 grade level appropriate books allowed in class as we move along. There is an even bigger shout out to the Hillsborough library system. They were our pandemic saviors. If it wasn't for these little Wi-Fi hotspots that you could check out from the library, we would have just been stopped dead in our tracks. But because we could get a hold of these and use Google Drive and put reading materials and student exercises in the cloud, such that you could follow the students' work on the exercises in real time, and you could exchange reading materials without actually exchanging them in a contactless way. Plus the 10-foot long table at a public park where we sat on either end of the table allowed us to continue to have our literacy classes when the libraries were unavailable. The biggest shout out of all, though, goes to the Muller Elementary Magnet School Library and to the staff at the Joyner Library, of which that elementary school library is a part. Teresa Collins at that library took a lot of time to explain to me things like Lexile and AR scores, and I have no background as an educator in this kind of education, in science perhaps, but not this. And she showed me how to find this information in different places on the library's website, as well as a great exploration of novelists for additional scoring information. Inside that Muller Elementary School library, the librarians have placed a sticker on the back of every book, and they've color-coded every one of them by grade level. You can go in there and pick up grade level appropriate materials for anyone. I've gone there too many times, and the student that I work with has read many books at different levels from that library. It is a huge, huge resource. And it also gives me confidence to know that there's a way to actually prove that we've met our commitment to the student to reach that 5th grade reading level, because now I know what a 5th grade level book is. There's so many others to say thank you to, not the least of which are Eric and Melissa and the staffs at the libraries that I have visited for tutoring. But a big thank you to the Literacy Council for this recognition, and best wishes to all of you for continued good health.
Tim, thank you so much. And once again, congratulations. And thanks for all you do and for your dedication. The pandemic really did change a lot of things for everyone. So it was incumbent upon all of us to find different ways to do that. So I applaud you for making sure that your students are still taken care of. Thank you and congratulations. So it's a great time now to share the results of a wonderful effort to create a community poem. So this year, the Literacy Council asked every member, tutor, and student to compose a personal poem, people were given a lesson plan that asked them to reflect on expressions or meals, events, or other things that were common in their upbringing. And so these ideas were then on the theme of where I'm from. You heard a little bit about this earlier. A community poem was made by combining a line or two from each of the poems into one single poem. And here now to read that poem for us today is the Adult Literacy Coordinator and Visions Editor, Eric Hughes.
Thank you, Rod. I'm very excited to now read to you guys the community poem, which was basically me picking my own favorite lines from each of the poems that were submitted for Visions 2021 and putting them together into one long poem. Maybe you would like to do the same yourself at some other time and make a community poem of your own. But here's the one that I came up with. The community poem. I am from the inns in December and lull the baby Jesus in the church, and they give candy for children's. I am from rubber bands and pins. I am from the new year and from the song, I just called to say I love you. I am from the town of Senor Epifanio, blasting old tunes from his boombox, perched on a tree for the whole town to hear. I am La Roja y Valdecine, from El Libro El Osito Boribon, La Canción Gato Vinigrito y La Película Vampiros in La Havana. I am from ham made with care by my mom, and from Pancha Crema, tradition when the ham cooks, and listen to La Bio Caracas music. I am from a combination of fried chicken and plantains. I am from somewhere where watermelons meet mangoes. I am from Macetas con Flores, football, Las Cogidas, planchas, canicas, burrito de San Andres. I am from Comida de Mar, football y montar bicicleta, and from gracias, lo lamento, y por favor. From feijoada and hide and seek, and from tudo bem means okay, I am fine, and the singer Roberto Carlos. I am from my brother always say take care, and my mother bless you, and from swimming every summer vacations on Cata Bay Beach, and every week going to the cinema. I am from eating sandy sandwiches on our beach blanket and building castles with my sister. I am from camping adventures carefully planned each year by my father. And from Chips Ahoy, Pepsi, Kentucky Fried Chicken, bacon grease, and a coffee can on the stovetop. I am from Red Rover, dodgeball, basketball in the alley, and riding on the bike handlebars. From look further than the end of your nose, and I'll give you something to cry about. I am from Good People Finds Good People, the barbecue grill, and I did it my way. From hide and seek and Turkish kebab. I am from a grandmother whose apron always smelled of flour and whose bosom could calm even the heaviest of hearts. From a grandfather who pretended to steal your nose and could entrance you with tall tales of woodsmen and long journeys. From playing cards with my siblings and my grandmother, my father's mother, a game called May I? Even though she is gone, we still play from time to time, and whenever we do, we always talk about her. I am from motor oil, oyster shells, and blackberries. I am from books, mosaic tiles, and a white cat who I declared I would marry. La piscina, pelota de air, paletas, parrilla y hamaca. From mis padres, mis hermanos, mis profesores y de la infancia. And from bowling in the street. I am from, excuse me, sorry, and plenty of bad language. Midsummer afternoon, a warm breeze moves the porch swing. I am from the whir of a lawnmower on a warm Saturday morning, I am from We Are Moving and Another New School. I am from reading all the books in English from my library. I am from petting all the hamsters at the pet store. I am from airplane rides to another country with a hamster in my lap. I am from late night laughter with best friends and from video rentals on Friday nights. I am from the rushing wind of riding bikes with no hands, the sticky sweet smell of climbing loquat trees, and the whirring sound of dial-up internet. This earth is our home where everyone is from no particular place. I come from everywhere I've ever been. Thank you.
Wow, Eric, thank you so much. That was fantastic. Fantastic. I saw myself in so many of those I am froms. Well, everyone, I hate to say this, but this concludes our program. I don't know about you, but I look forward to this every single year. And we sincerely hope that we're going to see every single one of you face to face next September in person. Until that time, please keep working very hard to improve your reading skills and your speaking skills. And on behalf of the entire Hillsborough Literacy Council, the student body, all of the tutors, the administration, we wish you a wonderful, wonderful year until we see you next September. So now comes the part where everybody can participate. All of the Literacy Council, the library, literacy department staff, all of our guests, if you would activate your cameras so we can do one big final wave goodbye. Thank you, guys. This was fantastic. Thank you for inviting me back once again.
Thank you, Rod. Thank you, everybody. Okay, I'm gonna turn us off. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.